There's obviously a reason why we're here today, and that reason is that we want to send a clear message to the Welsh Government that enough is enough. We want to send a clear message to the Welsh Government that things have to change. And we want to send a clear message to the Welsh Government that our members, our teachers, our support staff, you deserve far better. Now, since the 19th of January, I've attended 7 meetings with either the Minister and or his officials. Since the 19th of January. Why did those come about? Well, the Minister and the government here knew that we were going to go into dispute. They knew that we were going to do a preliminary ballot. We told them at the time our preliminary ballot was going on what the subject of it was and what the outcome was that we expected. We asked them for meetings then. That's going back to September. We'd asked for meetings, in fact, before then. When we went into a formal ballot, once the preliminary ballot result was known, we told them that we were going to formal ballot, and we told them the reasons why, and we told them we wanted to have a meeting, and we were denied meetings. It was only when you decided that you wanted to take this action, and the results came out on the 16th of January, that lo and behold, on the 19th of January, we were summoned to a meeting. You made that happen, not us, you made it. Initially, of course, there was no offer for anyone. Subsequently, we received a lump sum, an inadequate lump sum, for teachers only, to be divided between them according to how we thought. How dare they? They need to make a proper award for everyone, for teachers and for support staff. We then had a consolidated and non-consolidated offer. Again, that was inadequate. We've had discussions with regard to workload. We've still got to dot an awful lot of I's and cross an awful lot of T's before that brings any fruition at all. We've had discussions with regard to reactivating and reopening the Independent Wales Pay Review Body recommendations for 2023 to 24. We're still working on that. Again, we've still got nothing for support staff. And believe me, I have tried in all those 7 meetings, in other opportunities that I've had, I've tried to raise the issue with regard to support staff. I've tried to discuss it. I've tried to make sure that they understand the problems that our support staff are facing as well in our schools. And I've emphasised the fact, and Kevin Courtney's emphasised the fact, Mary's emphasised the fact, we've all emphasised the fact that it's not good enough, and they choose to ignore us, and that's not good enough for us. We have had a Welsh Government here in Cardiff since May 1999. That's 24 years of devolved government. 24 years in which the Welsh Government has said funding from Westminster is insufficient. It's 24 years in which they've done little or nothing to change that fact. It's 24 years during which public service workers like yourselves have had to make do and have suffered. It's 24 years in which teachers, support staff, nurses, medics, civil servants and other public sector workers have suffered. It can't go on, it has to stop, and it has to stop now. Back in 2010, we were told that we had the answer, that there was a way forward. The Holton Commission was going to report. It was supposed to break new ground. It was going to identify alternative funding mechanisms so that a needs-based system could be made to work. Well, Jerry Holtham's report was 13 years ago, and what has changed? Nothing. And I'm still fed up, and I'm fed up about that as well. In 2010, when that report came out, actually coincided with a massive blot on our society. That was the advent of Tory austerity. I'm fed up with austerity. I'm fed up with wages being driven down. I'm fed up that the balance has not been redressed. And I'm fed up that workers like you have to make a stand like this. and you're right to be fed up. And
but if that's a genuine offer, we'll stick it in your salary packets now, right now. And do the same for nurses as well, and do the same for civil servants, and do the same for everyone else. So as you can see, I'm pretty miserable now. But I've got some people who are going to help me cheer up. It's enough of me to ranting right now. Mary Bowstead, our General Secretary, tells me that she is going to cheer you all up. I think she's going to be doing some lunges and exercises and various other things and running on the spot, etc. But it's enough for me for now. I'm going to hand over to the General Secretary of the NEU, Mary Bowstead.
Cardiff, what do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Of course we do. I am so delighted to be here. And the sun is shining on the righteous. And we are the righteous here. I've got Sky filming me, so I can't use the word. And you'll know that Gavin Williamson thinks we're all lazy. He thinks we're lazy. And then he tries to excuse himself from that statement by saying, I was talking about the unions, not teachers. What does he think unions are made up of? Who does he think unions are? Does he think that unions are me and Kevin? Does he think that unions are David? We're not the union. You're the union. You are the National Education Union. So when he calls union leaders lazy, don't let him wriggle out of that. He's calling you lazy. He's calling the profession which works the most unpaid overtime of any profession, working hour weeks of 55 to 60 hours. He's calling you lazy. Now I wonder how Gavin Williamson would cope with working in schools which are dangerous, which are dangerously unfit for purpose. School buildings which are too old for the job that they are doing. School buildings riddled with asbestos. I wonder how he'd cope in his 55 to 60 hour working week with the daily reality of child poverty that you face. Children coming to school hungry. Children coming to school cold. Children coming to school with shoes which have to be patched up by their parents because they can't afford to buy them winter shoes. A third of the children in Wales living in poverty. I wonder how he'd cope when, with it being in a profession which has seen the greatest degree of work intensification of any profession since 2010, where 85% of teachers say they're exhausted at the end of every single working day. And you know, Gavin, I wondered how you cope with a pay which has declined by 23% if you're a teacher and 27% if you're a member of support staff. Real terms pay declined by nearly a quarter or over a quarter. And is it any wonder then that teachers are leaving the profession in droves? 40% within 10 years, a third within 5 years. Is it any wonder that this year the government's missed its teacher training targets by 41% in secondary, and it hasn't, for the first time ever, met its targets in primary? Schools are running out of teachers. They're running out of support staff. And you know, parents know this. Today, in a poll, Ipsos Morris shows that 6 out of 10 parents support teachers taking strike action. And 6 out of 10 parents, their biggest concern, their biggest policy concern, is inadequate funding for schools. The parents of the children you teach, the grandparents of the children you teach, they know what's happening. They know that there aren't enough teachers and there aren't enough support staff. And you know, I was contacted by a parent yesterday, And she said to me that her child is in year 11 doing GCSE chemistry. And since September, he has been preparing for his GCSE in chemistry from worksheets because there are no chemistry teachers in the school. The 3 chemistry teachers have left. And that's what's happening all across our system. In maths, 1 in 8 lessons taught by a teacher who doesn't have a qualification in maths. Now, they are doing the best job they can. But you cannot do the job you need to do for the children you're teaching if you don't have a qualification in the subject that you're teaching. You know that. You know that 1/3 of computer lessons are taught by teachers who aren't qualified in the subject that they're teaching. And English, which is my subject and the subject I train teachers in, 40% drop off in applications, 40% unmet target this year. That's a core subject. So parents and grandparents know that our schools are running out of teachers. They know they are running out of support staff who, frankly, earn more stacking shelves in supermarkets than they do caring and helping children with complex special needs. Do you know, Cardiff, it is time now that politicians understood the depths of anger and despair amongst educators. It is time that they heard our voice, that enough is enough. Is it any wonder that members are taking strike action? We've just done a survey and the results will come out before conference. It's the 5th year, we call it the State of Education Survey. It's the largest survey of educators that we have, that's done, and Welsh members are taking part in that survey too. But I'll just give you a foretaste of this now than it has ever been in that survey. The depth of anger that members feel about child poverty is at its greatest now than it has ever been in the survey, and something else. Teachers are going without and support staff are going without, afraid to put petrol in their car to get to work because they can't afford it, and going without meals. Teachers and support staff joining children in poverty, joining parents in poverty, going without meals. Is it any wonder we are angry? Is it any wonder we are determined? Is it any wonder we are united in winning this dispute? So today, we're making a stand. We won't put up with poor pay any longer. We won't put up with child poverty any longer. We won't put up with underfunded schools any longer. Now, we have to be fair here. In the UK, in England, the UK government will not negotiate with us. It's a catch-22. They won't start to negotiate until we abandon strike action. We can't abandon strike action because we don't trust them to negotiate. We don't trust them, and after today, is it any wonder that our trust in our politicians is so low? They have plumbed the depths. So when the politicians in England, and this is what they do in England, say they are disappointed with us, they're going on strike, I have to say to them, do you know what? We're disappointed with you. And do you know what? I'm a teacher, and my disappointment is much more scary than yours. The most scary thing in the world is when a teacher says, I'm very disappointed in you. Very quietly, we don't have to shout. I'm very disappointed in you. I'm very disappointed in Gillian Keegan. Now, I'm a bit less disappointed with Jeremy Miles because I will say that in Wales the government is negotiating. They're having meetings with our officials, with David. They are putting an offer on the table. It's not good enough, but they are negotiating and they are continuing to negotiate. And I want to say this, that lovely though it is here out on the bay in front of the Senedd, what an iconic setting, lovely as it is to stand in the sun, actually we don't want to be here. We want to be in our schools, in our classrooms, teaching and supporting children. We have the high moral purpose. We are the ones who do the work to keep society running. You are the ones who make sure that children are fed. You do everything you can to keep them clothed. In the absence of children and adolescent mental health services, in the absence of all the support services that we should rely on, it is schools which are the one public service left standing. That they're disappointed. I won't have anybody lecturing me or you that you are doing the wrong thing. You do not give up a day's pay, 2 days' pay now, because you want to. You give it up because you think there is no alternative. And I want to say something about the strength of the union. You know, there are other unions who wanted to be taking action today with us, and the NHT are here, and we thank them for their support. They have been great. But you know, it was the NEU that met the strike ballot thresholds. 50% of members voting, 40% of the whole membership voting yes. For a union our size, that's remarkable. So I want us to do a bit of a chant. It's a bit of a self-congratulatory chant. I'm going to do it first of all, and then I'm going to hand the microphone over to you. It's one that I've done at every March, and it's going quite well. And I want it to be a bit of a legacy, a bit of Mary's legacy, which is, we are the NEU! We are the NEU!
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 That's brilliant. You're so good. I can tell that you're good learners. I'm very pleased with that. That's excellent. Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. Now listen, I'm really proud of the union. I'm really proud of you. I know that we can stand together. We can stand together in solidarity. We can stand united, and that we will win. And my pledge to you is that we will do whatever we can to resolve this dispute. We are ready to negotiate whenever, wherever. We will be there to negotiate, to resolve this dispute. But we have to do that with a good resolution, and that is what we are working for. And I'll finish with this. You've all been very good. You've all come out. The flags look lovely. Let's have a wave for the flags for the camera. So, I can tell you now that you won't get another text from Kevin and Mary today. That's the last today. I can't promise for tomorrow. We're a bit addicted to it. But that's the last today. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Let's stand together in solidarity. Thank you.
Spoken. I was interested particularly, you said that someone saying I'm disappointed with you is one of the scariest things. But I have to say, Mary, I'm disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in you because you felt you couldn't use a particular word because Sky were following you. Well, Sky aren't following me. However, there are some youngsters here, and so my question will not come out just yet. And the relief upon some of my co-workers in the office is palpable. Right, I now want to introduce to you one of our Wales National Executive members from Blaen Gwent. She's been on the executive for a few years.
David, I am Hannah O'Neill, and I am the National Executive Member for Wales, and I am the Blaen Gwent District Secretary. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is an absolute privilege to you now. And I am privileged to be here today to speak on behalf of staff members of the NEU. We've taken strike action again to furtherance of our current dispute. Bear with me, I have many pages. I'm a prepared teacher. But let's make one thing clear from the outset. Neither I nor my colleagues want to be taken in action again today. The fact is, we have been left with no option. As you all know, the formal ballot of the National Education Union staff members overwhelmingly provided us the mandate for strike action, and hence why we are here today. Almost 90% of those who responded to the ballot were in favour of strike action. The strong result demonstrates our membership concern. They are concerned about two primary issues. Firstly, that pay rises are not keeping pace with prices, so standards of living keep falling. And secondly, pay rises are not fully funded. It is time time that Wales receives its fair share of funding. It is time that education and all public services receive sufficient monies to ensure that our aspirations for a world-class education provision are met. Welsh Government want the new curriculum for Wales. Well, they need to start funding us. Failure to invest in our teachers and our support staff and in our schools in general will continue to have a devastating effect upon education of our young people, our pupils and our future. Our communities expect a certain standard, which poor pay, poor funding will mitigate against. Staff will seek better opportunities elsewhere if they've not already been subject to redundancies or cut. And we have already lost many of our colleagues because they've gone to work for different companies where they can have better pay. Only this week we saw data showing that teacher training applications are down 15% for primary teachers. Who is going to teach our students if our teachers and our support staff are leaving the profession? But interestingly, Welsh Government doesn't think there's a retention and a recruitment crisis. I don't agree with them. We are at a crisis point and we need to resolve it. The 1st of February strike was a landmark day for us. We haven't been out in many years. And today we have teachers and support staff striking again across Wales. Thank you for joining us. And every school is affected and so is every community. Our message is simple. We are taking this action to protect the future of our schools, to protect education in Wales, and to improve the lot of our members and others involved in providing the greatest gift anyone can provide a person, that is education. Conservatives want to limit a worker's opportunity to remove their labour should there rise a need. Sorry about the noise of the paper. They do so in the face of unprecedented strike action in recent years. We've seen rail workers, nurses, ambulance drivers, mail workers, civil servants and other strikes across the whole country. Any decent government would sit down and negotiate to resolve the issues. But those in Westminster, I don't think so. Well, I have a message for them. We can't all be wrong. We will not cow down into submitting to your Victorian age practices. This is the 21st century and we demand better. And we will fight for better. Unless the Welsh Government think that they can hide behind that sentiment, well, you have a responsibility to all devolved public services. And that responsibility, Welsh Government, is to ensure that workers receive what is fair. Your obligation is to react. Interestingly, how many MSs are here today? They can't take credit when they have success and shy away from responsibilities when they need to make difficult decisions. What happened to social partnership? If you need more funding, you should fight for it. Today's action demands that you do. Listen to the people, listen to the workers, listen to our voices. And I've just got one quote from the Manic Street Preachers. If you tolerate this, your children will be next. Diolch yn fawr iawn, County.
Thank you, Hannah. Right, we're going to stray away a little from the NEU family at the moment, but staying firmly within the trade union movement. And I want to invite Shavana Taj, the General Secretary of the Wales TUC, to come and address you. Shavana has been General Secretary of the Wales TUC since 2019, I believe, and previously she was Wales Secretary of the PCS from 2013, and she's an avid advocate for workers' rights. Shavana.
What an amazing crowd, eh? Wow, look at all those flags. I love the personal banners that everyone's made. I'm also loving seeing all the NEU and everything else. But who'd have thought that we would actually end up at this point? I didn't actually think that we would necessarily be standing on the steps of the Senedd again, particularly as David just mentioned. When I was still at the PCS, we had a dispute at the National Museum of Wales, and I thought at that time, and that dispute ran for almost 2 years, and that was the last time that I was standing on the steps here demanding better for my members at the National Museum of Wales. And at that time, we were also told that there was no more money, that more money could not be found for some of the lowest paid workers. Public sector workers who hadn't received inflation-proof pay rises for such a long time, but at that time their terms and conditions were also being affected and impacted. Now, we're in a situation, of course, where there is no part of the public sector across the entire country that's been on a picket line, or even for those unions that unfortunately were not able to beat those Tory ballot thresholds. Now, we're in a situation where we are hearing on a daily basis that in-work poverty is the lived experience of every single public sector worker. At the same time, when we have a government at a UK level that seems to think that it's perfectly okay that some of those big energy companies like Shell do not pay an extra penny when it comes to their taxes. But any given opportunity, they come for us. Every single turn, they come for us. And now, of course, we are hearing again the leaks, all of those WhatsApps, all of those messages. I mean, we are literally in the throes of a public inquiry into COVID. Each and every single one of you know the work that you did during that pandemic. Just like healthcare workers, you were frontline key workers as well. You were not only making sure that, including my own children, were being taught online, but you were also physically going into school to make sure that other key workers' children were being educated and were being looked after as well. Yet now, what do they say? It's back to that shirkers and the scroungers. That's the mentality. We're going back to that narrative. So we're going back from you all being heroes, you all doing your bit for the country, you being so important to keeping everything going during a crisis point, then now all of a sudden you're scroungers, you're shirkers, you don't want to do your jobs, all you want to do is stand on picket line and lose a day's pay. Lose a day's pay when actually the whole reason why you're on strike in the first place is because of the fact that you haven't received an inflation-proof pay rise for over a decade. Over a decade. This isn't something that just all of a sudden showed up. This has been slowly creeping into the system. We need to know from takes us through to having pay restoration when we do eventually get a UK Labour government in power, as we're being told that they are pushing for. If that is going to happen, what is that going to mean for Welsh workers? What is that going to mean for our settlement here in Wales? Are they going to fight for that? What does that look like? If we are going to make sure that our education system is world class, then we need to make sure that we have world class educators within those same buildings teaching our children. Making sure that we do have future leaders for our country, for Wales. That we don't end up in a situation as we're seeing now, where we are having to rely, unfortunately, on agency workers whose terms and conditions are so much worse than others who actually work in the system too. When are we going to have agency workers on the same terms and conditions? Why do we need to have agency workers here in Wales? Why does that need to happen? It doesn't need to be this way. We can have a better way of doing things in Wales, particularly as the previous speakers have all mentioned. If we have a framework on which we operate in social partnership, a mechanism on which we're actually legislating for, then why do we have to hold on to government. We don't have to do that. Things can genuinely be better. But we've got to move on from just words into action. We need action on behalf of our politicians in the same way they say to us, Shav, we're doing our best. And I agree, at least we have got a government here in Wales that is in talks, that is prepared to engage. But what we now need to see, we need to see a bigger fight. We need to see them demanding more for Wales. We can't carry on like this, where workers are telling us that they're relying on food banks, where there's food banks in pretty much every single workplace. There was a time when actually, initially, we were hearing that it was healthcare workers who were telling us is that we're sleeping in our cars in between shifts because actually I can't afford the petrol both ways because I need to put food in the fridge for my family. But we're now hearing that actually from people who work in schools too. We stood together really strong as a union movement during the COVID pandemic. That was the reason why we were able to actually make sure that more workers were better protected. We now have that responsibility to make sure that we keep up that momentum, because they will try and play you off against each other. That's inevitable, that's how it works. But we as a movement have to remain really strong and united and fight not only for ourselves, but for each other. Solidarity.
Thank you very much, Shav. And I think we've got a bit of a theme going here now with the speakers with regard to songs and praises from songs. When I said heaven knows I'm miserable now, of course that was Morrissey. Hannah quoted from the Manics, and Shav was just holding out for a hero. And those heroes are you. I'm going to move away now from the trade union family. I'm actually going to call upon a Senedd member, a person who was elected to the Senedd, to the South Wales Central Regional list.
Good afternoon, everyone. And a change for a politician not to be booed following the speeches today. But I want to say, Mary was talking about some politicians being disappointed in the fact that you're striking. Well, I'm not disappointed. I'm disappointed for you that you have to strike. It's not an easy decision to strike. And I think the fact that it's taken so long, you've tried negotiating, you've been telling Welsh Government about pressures with workload and pay, but they haven't been listening. That's why we have to stand united and take this stance. And I am thanking you today as a parent, as well as the school governor. I am thanking you for this stance that you are taking, because it's not a selfish one for yourselves, as has been told by other speakers. It is for future generations and our children and young people now. And I thank you. Diolch o galon I chi gyd. David mentioned at the start of being fed up. And it's one of the things that I find since being in the Senedd here, is being fed up of hearing time and time again, if only we had the powers here in Wales, if only the UK government gave us the money. That is shirking their responsibility. As David mentioned, education is devolved. Welsh Government has been in charge of education since 1999. And with that comes responsibility. And I want to see teachers and teaching assistants being valued. An education system that works for our young people and an education system that people want to work in. Because Hannah mentioned people leaving in droves. We're told in the Senedd that there isn't a crisis. Yet, seeing the figures, there is certainly. But you have to view and echo your calls that this enough is enough. We need to decide here in Wales what we value. And we need to pay properly if we want to see that happen. I know one of the big honours I have in this role is visiting schools across Wales and across the region that I represent. And I see day in, day out, teachers go above and beyond. As a parent, I really appreciated teachers when I had to try and teach and educate my son from school, knowing that I could never be a teacher or have the patience for it, so you have my full admiration. But when I visit schools, yes, I see quality education day in, day out. But then I see the teachers that go above and beyond to ensure that those children have clothes, that they're fed, that their families have fridges. You know, things that you wouldn't expect a teacher to be responsible for, but feeling that passion and commitment because they want the best for their learners. So, just as we did during COVID, appreciate all kids. Falle bod yna teimlo weithiau bod pobl ddim yn gwrando yn yr adeilad yma. Ond mi ydyn ni'n Rhaid Cymru yn gwrando, a da ni yn eich cefnogi chi. A mi fydden ni'n gwneud popeth posib i sicrhau bod y frwydr yma'n cael ei hennill. It may seem that we're not listening sometimes in this place, that your messages aren't being heard. But I can tell you, in terms of Plaid Cymru, we are listening, we are with you, and we stand in solidarity. Digon yw digon. Enough is enough. Together, we're united, we'll fight together, and we need to win, not just for teachers, but for everyone here in Wales and future generations. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi gyd.
Well, thank you very much, Helen. Diolch yn fawr i chi. I have to say, though, I'm disappointed as well, because you didn't actually follow on with the song lyric or anything. I'll do it for you. You mentioned that teachers were leaving their droves. They are. They're on that midnight train to Georgia. They're on the night boat to Cairo. They're leaving on a jet plane. There's plenty of other analogies. It's true. And they need to understand in this building that they have to stop the rot. They have to take out their tickets wherever they're leaving to and keep them here. Right. I am now going to come back to the NEU family. And another of our national executive members, who is also District Secretary for Denbighshire, Liz McLean.
Good afternoon. My name's Liz McLean and I'm the District and Branch Secretary for Denbighshire and one of the 3 executive members for Wales. This morning I was privileged to be on the picket line with the wonderful staff from Ysgol Derry. Over there, they were marvellous. We did a pay us fairly conga up and down the road. It was a fantastic experience. It was an honour and a privilege. And I had written a speech for the rally last night. But then I saw a poem on social media that was read out at the rally in Leeds. And I'd like to share that poem with you today. The author of the poem is a head teacher from Fleet Primary in Fleetwood. His name's Dave Matt Partland. I'll have to change hands. It's called Why Are We Striking? We're striking for the child who's in the wrong place, needs specialist provision, but they haven't got space. For the child who's behind and suffers from stress, we'd offer them more, but we're offering them less. We're striking for the child whose life's gone bad, who goes back to a home that just makes them sad. For the child that needs support and love, not testing, struggling in a system that's not had enough investing. We're striking for the family who know we're trying. We can't offer what we used to, and our chats leave them crying. For the family we help with food, clothes and bedding. We all do our best, but we know where this is heading. We're striking for the family who sleeps in the cold, empty kitchen cupboards and walls full of mould. For the family in desperate need of a professional helping hand, but the services can't cope because of the unprecedented demand. We're striking for the TAs. Let's not forget them. For the TAs and the teachers who are all tired and stressed out, who don't feel enough but are doing their best. For the TAs and teachers who've never felt such pressure, who can make it fun, but so much is about what we can measure. Courses, not as much staff development, because there's no money for courses. For the staff all dealing with the effects of COVID-19, fixing challenging behaviours unlike any we've seen. We're striking for the leaders with the impossible task of keeping everyone going with an impossible ask. For the leaders to get even more out of their shattered staff, balance school improvement with well-being. You're having a laugh. We're striking for the leaders who go home in tears because of high stakes accountability and their Ofsted Estim fears. For the leaders who know what it should be really like, but their ideas aren't listened to, so we end up on strike. We're striking because we have to. The system is broken.
Please welcome Darren Williams.
Thanks, David. You give me quite a lot to live up to with that introduction. Try not to let you down. I'm very pleased and privileged to be here today, bringing support and solidarity from PCS to you in the NEU. And it's a particular pleasure to be at such a fantastic, well-attended rally here this afternoon. And I'm sure that the members of the Senedd and Welsh ministers will be in no doubt as to the message that you're sending out today. And I'm sure the audience beyond Cardiff Bay today will be listening carefully as well to what you're saying. And I just want to congratulate you as a union on the determination and the principle that you've demonstrated in your dispute in attempting to get justice on pay, on workloads, and on decent funding for the education system. So I want to congratulate you on the action you've taken today, because it demonstrates that the expertise and commitment and dedication of your members, teachers and support staff in the education system cannot be taken for granted. That we cannot get decent public services on the cheap. I think that's a really important message, and I think you deserve maximum support and respect for everything that you've achieved so far in this dispute. Our members in PCS also face many of the same issues that you do in the teaching profession, not least, of course, the impact of the cost of living crisis. Our members who work for Whitehall departments like the DWP have seen their pay capped at 2% over the last financial year. That's after 12 years of pay awards that have either been zero or have been kept to about 1.5%. You know, under the current circumstances in particular, that is clearly an unsustainable situation. It is just not right that people can be expected to accept a real terms pay cut, particularly when the cost of living is at a 40-year high. And you know, we've surveyed our members, we've asked them about their experiences under the current situation, and some of the testimony we've had back from them has been heartbreaking. We've got members who are using food banks, we've got members who are having to take second jobs to make ends meet, we've got members who are delivering benefits in the DWP. We've also got other issues, particularly with the UK government. They're forcing our members to pay excess pension contributions, even though their own independent pension valuation process has said that's not necessary, and we're taking legal action against them for that. They're still threatening to cut tens of thousands of jobs in the civil service, and they're trying to cut redundancy terms, so when they do get rid of people, they can get rid of them that much more cheaply. As a consequence of that, our members voted in unprecedented numbers at the end of last year to take strike action on all these issues. The biggest vote we've ever had for strike action at a national level across the civil service. And that's enabled us to take targeted, sustained action in a number of different areas, including ports, airports, driving centres, and in fact this very week our members in the DVLA and the Land Registry in Swansea are taking targeted action. And we will keep that going, and we will keep that pressure up on employers until we get the justice that our members deserve. And of course, on the 1st of February, we were also able to bring out all 100,000 of our members who voted to take strike action in solidarity and alongside you and other unions, including the UCU and the rail unions. And we had a magnificent show of support, and we sent a very clear message on that day. And it was great to see everybody in Central Square in Cardiff on the 1st of February. And there's no doubt that ministers and employers were listening to that message we were sending out. And we will keep on doing that. And I look forward to us taking action alongside members in the NEU and other unions on the 15th of March. We will keep on doing it for as long as it takes until we get pay justice and justice on all those other issues that our members and all public sector workers deserve. Like you, our members in the civil service and the other public sector areas that we represent don't want to be taking strike action, they want to be doing their jobs. But like you, they're angry at the way they've been treated. And so we need to keep these disputes going until we get that justice, until we see public sector workers being valued and respected and getting the rewards that their hard work entitled them to. So we'll keep on doing that. We'll be alongside you on the 15th of March, once again, sending that message. And I hope that whether it's employers in civil service departments, in local authorities, here in the Welsh Government, or UK Government ministers, they will sit up and take notice, and they will come back and talk to us and give us the results we need. So until then, we must keep fighting. I wish you maximum solidarity and support for the continuation of your dispute, and I hope that you will have a successful outcome for teachers and support staff in the education system, that we will have a successful outcome in the civil service, and everywhere else, on the railways, on the post, we get the result we need. If we all stick together, we continue this action, I think that we will be victorious. And until that day, let's keep on going. Solidarity.
Thank you, Darren. And I want to introduce the third member of our National Executive from Wales. She's the District Secretary for Vale Glamorgan. She's been on the Executive since 2018, it's Marie Canavan.
Hi everyone. Firstly I want to say a big thank you to you all for turning out here today. It's wonderful to see so many flags, so many people turning up to the picket lines this morning and then coming to the demo afterwards. We had a fabulous picket line at Scoladeri this morning. We did the conga for a pay rise. It was amazing, and came to support that. And those people who have lobbied MSs here today, who tried to lobby their MS, who wrote to MSs, but quite a lot of them didn't reply to us, unfortunately. But we must continue to lobby them and to try and speak to them and let them know what the situation is. Solidarity to any other union members, any HT, any SUWT, the people who've come here today to support us. And we hope that the 15th is going to be a really big escalation of action, and we look forward to taking action with the other unions on that day. Thanks to the trade councils who always come to support all the picket lines as well. So Morgan funding, because obviously that's the district that I worked for, the local authority that I worked for, and that is that's the one I know about, but it is the same situation around Wales to varying degrees, but the funding fog works in favour of those who keep funding back from education, and it's very frustrating for union leaders, executive members and head teachers. It's a merry-go-round of trying to get to the bottom of how much of educators' pay awards are funded. One of the problems is that Welsh Government doesn't direct local authorities about how much money should go to education, so that amount is different in every single one of our 22 local authorities. How is that a fair situation on our schools and our children? It's a postcode lottery, that's what it is. And it means that education is not prioritised in the way that it should be. Education should be especially prioritised for funding in Wales with the new curriculum and the ALM bill, which is supposed to transform our schools. We need the money to pay for the staff to transform our schools. Without well-trained staff and support staff, our children will not succeed no matter what new initiatives Welsh Government bring in. Merry-go-round works is that Welsh Government blame Westminster for lack of funding. WLGA say Welsh Government aren't handing enough money over for education, and then local authorities blame both WLGA for not handing enough money over, and they also blame Welsh Government. It's quite a different environment to the one in England, where funding comes straight from the government and it's clear what money goes to school, and it's more glaringly obvious about how much more is needed. There's no such thing as clarity in Wales around funding. And of course this funding fog contributes to the situation our supply staff find themselves in, being paid way below their worth and excluded from teacher pension schemes. Like school funding, no one wants to take responsibility for fair paying conditions for supply staff. This situation makes a huge amount of work for trade unions and head teachers. Last week I finally got clarity on how much of the year's pay award my local authority, Vale Glamorgan, is funding. Vale is funding less than 4% of the 5% awarded to teachers in September. And 1% of all teachers' salaries is a huge amount to be found out of existing school budgets. I'm told the picture around Wales is very varied, with a few local authorities fully funding the award, but many funding an even smaller percentage than the Vale of Glamorgan. Even more worryingly is the situation around funding of support staff, the backdated award, which was paid last year. Of which I'm told none of it was funded by the Vale of Glamorgan. So there was a pay award of around 9% paid to support staff, and none of that was funded. Schools were to find that out of their existing budgets. That is money that is supposed to be spent on our children and on resources. And other things needed to run a school, such as paying the huge electricity bills and energy bills, which have recently been thrust upon us all, but which are especially crippling in schools. So taken together, only 57% of pay awards made to education staff last year were paid, fully funded by the Vale of Glamorgan. Schools had to find 43% of that funding out of their existing budgets. They were left to find £1.1 million for pay awards last year. That's why educators are on strike. This is an unsustainable situation. If money keeps getting siphoned off education budgets, our schools cannot survive. Education is in crisis and we need governments to listen and pay up. Thank you.
In the last lap now, we've got one more speaker to go, but before I call that speaker, I just want to thank Mairead for that, and she's been hiding the light under the bushel a little bit. She told me earlier, she asked me to make this announcement. Given the fact that she practiced the conga this morning, she is going to lead the conga when we all leave here, down the bay, around St David's Hotel, and back up to Eli Jenkins. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Right, our final speaker is also from the trade union family, but this time from the NAHT. She became director of the NHT in 2020, having started work for them the year before. Today, the NHT, of course, also met the threshold for strike action. They're taking action short of strike action, and today you'll find that they're not reporting anyone who's not in school, which is excellent. So with no more ado, let me welcome Laura Doyle.
As they say where I come from, cheers babes. I'm honoured and privileged to stand here today to address the National Education Union's rally. As representative of the National Association of Head Teachers, our fight is your fight. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our friends and colleagues in the National Education Union. For too long, the profession has been a victim of a broken education system. For too long, you have made do and mend, because that's what you do. For too long, you have got on with the job. During the pandemic, you were the ones that stayed in work. You were the ones that were there, supporting our children and young people across Wales. You never gave up. And as a trade union movement, we will not give up on you. Now, we talk a lot about pay rises, and we hear a lot in the press about pay rises. Let's be clear, we're talking about pay restoration here. We're not talking about a pay rise. We're trying to get back the money that you were owed. That you were owed for an honest day's work, and all you're asking for is an honest day's wage in return. Now, for too long, in my view, we have got on with the job and not stood up. We have got on with it because many of us have been guilted into doing these things for the children. We do it for the children, so you should be grateful. You do it for the children, so you should just put up with it. Well, actually, what this shows today is you are doing this for the children. You are taking a stand, not only for this generation of learners, but for the next generation of learners. We've got a Labour Welsh Government here. They're supposed to be working with us and standing up for the rights of decent, honest, genuine public sector workers. We're in the middle of negotiations, and we are doing our best for our teachers and leaders across Wales. But I've got a very clear message for them. When we're talking about improving educational outcomes and standards for learning, we're not talking about extending the school day. We're not talking about reforming the school year, and we're not talking about turning our schools into community centres. We know how to improve standards in schools. We know how to do the best for our learners, and that's invest in you, the hard-working people who stand in front of them day in, day out. Without investing in the education profession, we are not going to get the next generation of teachers and leaders. We're not going to get the next generation of doctors and nurses and manufacturing workers and scientists and hopefully trade union officials. We're not going to have them without you. We need this government to put the money where the mouth is, in a place where it's going to go for the best for our children, and that's in you. There'll be a lot of people that will see this rally today, and will see it on the news, and I did an interview about it myself this morning, about the disruption that you are causing by taking action today. But I think we need to be really clear that that disruption already exists in education, and you are the ones masking it, trying to make it work for our learners, and by taking a stand today, you're saying enough is enough, and this is the reason why. We're doing it for the children, we're not just doing it for us, we're doing it for them. As David has already said, the National Association of Head Teachers are taking action short of strike. We are supporting you, we stand with you shoulder to shoulder, and it is only because of the anti-trade union legislation that our members are not down here today standing with us. We want to make sure that our message is clear. We are a united front. We will not lie down, we will not accept that this is all that can be offered. We will continue that fight. That fight is our fight, it's your fight. Let's stand together and send a message to this government that we have had enough. I was going to quote a very famous trade union song, but I now can't find it on my phone. So instead I'm going to leave with this. There is power in a union die, just to quote a song. And what I want to make sure is that every single one of us stand together, stay strong, stay true to your action, and together we will succeed. Diolch yn fawr, solidarity to you all.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you for the song quote as well. You had earlier said enough is enough. In fact, Helen said digon and digon. So we got song references right throughout that. I hope you've enjoyed the day. I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of the day. Look forward to the 15th and the 16th. Look forward to the events that we put on those days. Stay strong. This fight can be won, and we are going to win it, most definitely. Diolch yn fawr I chi.
And go home and revel in the fact that this afternoon, of all afternoons, there's no more text from Kevin and Mary. Bye.